Ooh.
Beautiful people, what a tough property market. We are seeing buyers getting disheartened. We are seeing agents raving about how much they're getting over the reserve. What does that mean to you, and how can we do better at this whole process? Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes, episode 415. Myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak, talking about buyers getting slammed in the market. A lot of agents slammed. A lot of agents, or you're constantly seeing on Facebook, social media, 300K above the reserve, 600K above the reserve. They're all beating their chest on how good they are. I suppose what really sparked up this conversation was a post from a client we know, a friend of the company, but also a buyer in the market, really putting out there her position, slamming agents on everything, which I think a lot of it was
Amy Callister.
A lot of it was what's the word? Valid. A lot of it was valid, the points she brought up. Mark, good market, good agents, or good market, average agents? Well, the market's paid.
Oh, look, at the moment, it doesn't take much to look like a hero, and it's one of those things in the market that, I don't think you're really getting that many points for being for selling a property. Like, at the moment, anyone can sell a property. It's not hard to sell a property. But where the magic actually is with property is actually making in the transaction, getting a phenomenal result for the seller, but getting a phenomenal result for the buyers as well. And what that measure actually is all the buyers feel like the process was diplomatic, feel like the process was fair, and feel like a genuine, that they lost honourably. And I think that's the key in what we're seeing at the moment, that's people that are buying that are missing out don't feel like it was honourably done. And I think that as an industry, we've got to dig deep and realise that on a numbers game, we're going to have 100 people through an open house. We're going to have one person that we're selling for. The person that we're selling for is the person paying the bill. Absolutely, we've got to make those people happy. But the other 100 people, the other 99 people that don't get the property, I think there's an absolute art in communicating with those guys, educating those people to make sure they feel good about that process. And there's always going to be a sore head, but it's got to be done honourably.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good point. You're out of 100 buyers, you only got one of them actually buying it. So yes, they're the most important to your seller, but you don't want to piss off 99 other people, because it will affect other sellers. People don't realize, especially if you are dominant in your area or just good in your area, buyers will not come to an open home if you're a shit agent or they don't like you. And if they do come and they don't like you, it's not going to be a pleasant process, which will not enable you to get the highest price for the property. A lot of buyers will bite their tongue, but also a lot won't, and they just won't look at listings for you. So as much as you maybe get the highest price for your vendor on, say, property A, it may be costing you in the long run. Not to mention, all buyers become sellers. And I know in the past, I've had just as many referrals from people who miss out on properties from me than people who bought. And it's to do with what you said with the communication there, Mark. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's not a hard market to sell it. It's so gloating that you sold a property does not have the same pat on the back level as it did, 18 months ago. Getting 200 grand above the reserve doesn't have the same pat on the back level as it did before. Like, don't get me wrong, just buyers are watching your content as much as potential sellers, and they want to see you get above the reserve as sort of a recognition as well. So that's great, but I think it's tone it down a little bit. Be mindful that these buyers, a lot of buyers, Imi, I think, posted, she's missed out on 5. And then you see buyers undergoing, I've missed out on 10, I've missed out on this. So you're actually going to anger a lot of people. I think it's just being sensitive. Like, maybe just, there's times to gloat and times to not. Don't get me wrong, there's basic things you can do, but I think just maybe tone it down a little bit. One, because the market's hot. You look like an idiot if you didn't sell it.
Yeah, so guys, if you just tuned in, I love your feedback. We do have a live audience that we love to work with, and we are talking about marketing of over the reserve and how good are we at getting over the reserve and being mindful of buyers' feelings. And on that, Burge, I think it's really interesting that it's got, when that campaign runs, and when the agents are running campaigns or when they've sold something, it's got to, there's ego in that, yeah. And I think that there's good ego and bad ego, but I think that you've got to be really respectful of your seller. They're the person that's employed you. I think you've got to be really respectful of the buyer. They're the people who employed you. So, with any of these over the reserve campaigns that we're seeing everywhere at the moment, I think you've really got to think of, what's in it. How can I add value to the people that are watching? How can I, people love a feel-good story. How can I, rather than just gloating about the dollars, which we do a lot of the time, I think people's emotions, helping people through that process, it's just really important. And I know it's a very hard, not tangible thing that we're talking about, because there's no science to it, but I think at the moment there's not much consideration to it either, and we've just got to be really considerate, yeah.
And I think another thing as well is a lot of people don't understand or know the difference between reserve and a guide. Huge difference. So when a lot of buyers see 500 grand above the reserve, they're just thinking you underquoted a lot of the time. They're just like, well, you're a dog, you underquoted, and that's why you can say that. Where, yes, we know the reserve is what the owner said they'll sell in, so the market's taken it above that. But not many buyers know that. So, yes, you're a hero over the reserve, but a lot of buyers will think you're a dog. I think that's a big point.
Because there are people that are pretty clued on that have worked out that you've potentially sledged the owner low, or the owner had no idea what the property was worth, and then you've sledged the buyers high, and you've done that in a manner that wasn't really fair. Now, in agents' defence, sometimes that you've got an owner that's just not optimistic as you are. So the reserve becomes very conservative, and then at the same time you've got buyers and a market that's just violent. It's just crazy. It's a volcano of a market, and we have, like, I have run a campaign recently on a property in Arthur Street, where we got quite a lot over the reserve, but it was more, I think that what's really, really important is that sometimes agents are just not considerate about the buyers that are out there at the moment. And if you're a young family and you've sold your property, and you're trying to get your family into a new property, and it is $200,000 more than what you expected to pay and what you got finance that approved, that's really that's emotional.
Heartbreaking. Anyone that sold end of last year, beginning of this year, trying to upsize, it would not be nice. They're selling. They could have sold, like Mark. They could have sold a knockdown in DY for 1.2, 1.3, thinking they're going to buy a nice home for $2 million, and now they're buying the same knockdown for $2 million. Like, some people would be getting burnt, and this takes me to the point. Sometimes when you're looking, especially when it's not an investment play, you really need to ignore what the media and the market trends are. Because it was only 12 months ago where people couldn't sell anything. We had one buyer in 60 days for a property. Buyers would have had 2 months to decide if they wanted to buy a property because there was so much sentiment and bad publicity about the market. But 9 out of 10 buyers said, no, the market's shit, I'm not going to buy. There's only really two markets, Mark. It's never perfect. It leans towards buyers saying it's a shit market, I'm not going to buy, or it leaning towards it's a hot market and buyers missing out and feeling shit about themselves. So it just emphasizes those conversations when we say in a shit market, it's a great time to buy. It's not just the pricing. It's you have time to do due diligence. You're not being burnt on transactions. There's many things that make it a good time to buy. Like right now, yes, there's two parts to it. It's a good time to buy because you know your property is potentially going to be worth more. You got the sentiment, the trends are all going up. What a great time to be in the property market when a lot of people are happy. But it's a bloody shit time to actually get a transaction when there's 12 people going for a property. You're missing out on 10 properties. You're doing 10 building and pest reports. You're getting the lawyer to check 10 contracts. You're speaking to 10 different agents. What a shit time to be buying compared to before.
But you know what, guys and girls that are watching, it's like being in a 20-story building and you're in a lift. The property market is the lift. You can get in and out of that lift whenever you like. And at the moment, that lift is moving very quickly up. Now, the common thing that I'm getting told by prospective purchasers now is the market's too hot, we're not going to buy. Now, I'm sorry to tell, and we're going to buy later. I'm sorry to tell you guys, and I do tell people that say that to me, is you're basically saying to me, I will wait so I can pay a higher price. Fact. I will wait because I'll to pay a higher price. So they're choosing not to compete, which is in turn choosing to pay more for the property that they're going to be after.
I almost respect that if you've got the money, because would you rather that or people whinging, or not whinging, but a lot of people being heartbroken. If you know your personality, sorry to interrupt, is very methodical and diligent, and you will not be pressured through anything quick. And fair enough, we have those buyers. Hey, Mark, they want their final approval before they even make an offer. They want the building and pest done before they make an offer. They want their lawyer to review it before they make an offer. And then there are people out there with that personality who will not be pushed. And I actually think I respect that more, going, hey, this market's not the market for me. I don't care if I'm paying $500,000 more in a year. I'll wait for it to cool down. It'll be a slow spot, and I'll buy when I'm comfortable. I almost respect that. I know I do respect that, but you know who you are. But you must understand you're going to be paying more after the sort of the trend. Sorry, Mark.
Now, and what you're saying about media, it wasn't that long ago. That it was actually exactly this time last year that the media was saying 30 to 50%, the market could adjust by 30 to 50%. And buyers were telling us then, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
so the market's going bananas. The people go, well, I'll just wait. And the market's apparently going to shit itself. I'll just wait. So my message to everyone is exactly what you said, Michael. Don't worry about the media. Worry about what works for you. Can you afford it? And what do I need?
Oh, you're going to love this one. I thought it would be funny to Google it. Predictions: house prices could fall by 30%.
Yeah. So, guys and girls, the message from today that I want you to take away is, can you afford it? And what do I need? Now, if you can afford it and you do need it, irrelevant to a rising, violent, crazy property market or a market that's shitting itself, just get in and buy. because at the end of the day, the last 1 or 2 or whatever 100 years, it doubles every 10 years.
Yeah. And Mark, I think also don't be reach out to a buyer's agent. Ask an agent who's a good buyer's agent. If you do really want to buy now, you need to buy now, then there's no harm getting support. A seller has an agent acting for them. Arm yourself and get a buyer's agent as well. There's some great ones out there as well. Get as much as, for buyers out there, it's war. So get as much ammunition and help as you can. I just found, when you said down 30%, to just find that article, wow, what a 1 year. Who knows what 2022
what was the date on that article?
April 24th.
April 24, pretty much a year ago, the big 4 banks were predicting 30% down, 40 to 50% down. They were the predictions. How wrong were they?
Yeah, warns that the worst case scenario where coronavirus restrictions are extended could see housing prices tumble by up to 30%. Wow. 1 year. See, what's the CBA puts estimate decline 10% to 20%. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So in conclusion, everyone, be strong, stay strong. Real estate agents, be respectful of the guys and girls out there. They are going to be your sellers one day and choose you. They are people that are referring your services to sellers even now, even if they're buyers. And buyers that are out there, make sure you can afford it. Go for gold. Don't worry about the market, the media and the market, if it's going up, going down. Just do what you need and make sure you can afford it. Stick to the basics.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Up.